Assalamu alaikum everyone and good afternoon. Well, it's still morning for me, but good afternoon to you guys. Um, Today we're going to talk about collaborative machine learning and we will be focusing on federated learning and analytics. I tried to keep the session an high level overview, but if it gets complicated at any stage, feel free to ask me your questions or get in touch later on, okay? No worries on that. So Saad already introduced me, but just to sum it up, I'm a PhD researcher and a student at SFI Center for Research Training, and I'm based in Dublin City University. I'm also working as technical specialist and author for Content Lab. I've been recognized as Code Project MVP. I wish Microsoft, but sometime later. And previously as C Sharp Corner MVP. I worked at software as a software engineer and with backed as an author as well. So that's all in the past now. Let's get started. Today, the agenda for today's session is why do we care about federated learning? What is federated learning? When can we use it? We'll take a look into few scenarios, applications. We'll talk about the two. Yeah, it's all demonstration for you guys. Okay, so let's start. Why do we care about federated learning? So we all know that there are so many things that we can do with machine learning. For example, Google Photos के अंदर जिस तरह से वो आपको memories दिखा रहा होता है या grouping करके दिखा रहा होता है. Same as there's another recent concept where you can make albums online and then you can just send it over for printing and stuff. So you can make albums. You can also write better emails. Using machine learning, and it also predicts next word. It also predict whatever mistakes you have done. I'm sure we all have been using it, but this all happens when you give access of your data to machine learning model, because machine learning model is only as good as the data that goes inside it. Otherwise it's just garbage, it's dummy, there's nothing. आप उसको data feed करते हैं and then it trains on the data and gives you the results. So as long as you're giving machine learning model access to your data, it will train the model and it will help you out in whatever possible ways it can. तो प्रॉब्लम कहाँ पे आ रही है? प्रॉब्लम यहाँ पे आ रही है that so we are collecting data from all the sources, which is your cell phone, which is your laptop, which is every smart device that you use or you wear. We collect data from that in a central data server, and then we train machine learning models on that. And that's when the predictions happen or we work on the queries that you had requested. Again, data access. Problem क्या आ रही है? Data security. I remember जब WhatsApp ने अपना recent security update दिया था, and most of my friends literally just called me and said, we're not using WhatsApp anymore. It's asking access for our data. It's gonna share it with other people. You know, just switch to somewhere else and let's connect. So the privacy concerns एक major topic रहा है. Debated heat इस पे बहुत ज़्यादा होती रही है, and that's just our data. What if we are working in some finance or banking sector? Banking sector don't want to share their data with everyone else. So what do we do then? There is data that is residing on different locations, on different with different people. So it's literally residing in silos. And how do we connect the data to our model, and how do we get this all working? That's where federated learning comes in. Federated learning is a new machine learning procedure or technique where the goal is to train high-level model with data distributed over several independent providers. So what I mean is, I'm not going to collect your data. I'm not going to collect Saad's data. I'm not going to collect even my own data. I'll just try to learn from that data without sharing it and train a high-level model. How that happens is, now we're going to see the procedure that happens. So what we do is, instead of sharing the data, what we share is we share model updates. I hope everyone is familiar with these basic terms of machine learning. If you're not, just ask me, I can explain. So by node, we mean every edge device or every device in the network that is participating in training or prediction. That's what we're calling node. So that could be your cell phone as well. And server is just some central entity where our main model is residing. So what we're doing is we're connecting all the nodes with the central server. And instead of collecting the data from all the edge devices and all the nodes, we will collect only the model updates. And I'll explain later on how is that happening and how are we using those model updates. But we are not taking data to the code. Instead, we're taking code to the data. So this is the procedure that the central server has an untrained model. By untrained, I mean it could be initialized on some random parameters. It'll just know the kind of data it is going to receive. That could be image related data, that could be text related data, and that could be initialized on some very random parameters which has nothing to do with the trained model. And then let's suppose we have 4 edge devices or 4 nodes. Let's suppose we have 4 cell phones. Okay. What will happen in the first iteration is server will send a copy of its untrained model to all the devices in the network. So I'll receive one copy on my cell phone. You will receive one copy on your cell phone. Let's say your friend will receive the same copy on its cell phone. So all the devices will receive one copy of the model. Now every node in the network has the same untrained network that the server have. But there's another thing that nodes have, and that is data. Okay, I have my data. For example, if I'm working, if I'm writing some text or some email, तो जो मेरा phone है उसके पास तो है ना data because I'm writing out there exactly. तो उसको पता है कि मेरा pattern क्या है लिखने का. तो हर node के पास data है, and now it also has untrained model. Federated learning क्या करती है कि हर नोड के ऊपर अब हम उस untrained model को train करने वाले हैं using the local data. So the model that I received would be trained on the data that is on my phone. Your model that you received would be trained on the data that is on your phone. And basic line fitting यहाँ पे मैं दिखाई हुई है, which is just representing कि model कैसे train हुआ है. So see, this was the untrained data, and then the untrained model, and then we trained it accordingly to the data. Now every model on the edge device is different. It has different parameters because it is trained on different data. Next, what will happen now, each device will send back its copy of trained model. Once the server has all the copies from all the devices, it is going to take an average. That could be a simple average, that could be a weighted average. There are different ways, but the basic idea is we are going to aggregate all the models that we have received, and then we are going to capture all the patterns in the data that was there. So now the central server is also updated based on the parameters that it received. अब इस सब में क्या हो रहा है? Okay, let's go back. First, we had an untrained model. We sent it to all the nodes. We trained the model on the nodes with the data that the nodes had. And then we sent back the updated models to the server. And the server model is updated. And this whole process goes on and on and on until we have received an accuracy level और जो भी हमने parameters बताए हुए हैं कि हाँ मुझे ये level of performance चाहिए. जब उस performance level पे आए थे then the training can stop. Okay. और इस सब process में क्या हो रहा है कि one thing to note is we are not sharing any kind of data. किसी भी पॉइंट पे मैंने ये नहीं बोला कि हम ट्रेनिंग डाटा को शेयर कर रहे हैं. हम लोग ऑन डिवाइस ट्रेनिंग कर रहे हैं एंड देन वी विल ओनली शेयर द अपडेटेड पैरामीटर्स with the server जहाँ पे वो aggregate हो रहा है. So this not only increase privacy but also it saves on a lot of bandwidth because to and fro motion जो हमारे पास वो training data जा रहा है, data packet loss हो रहे हैं, then we're sending those data packets back again, that all is being saved. क्योंकि data share नहीं करें, parameters share करें, even if parameters are lost we can send that back but that will still save on a lot of bandwidth. So privacy and security are main points. So this is an example. So Gboard has been using this federated learning. If any of you is using, this is what happens in your cell phone. So whenever you're using Gboard and you're writing something, some suggestions pop up. अब आपका phone ये capture कर रहा होता है whether you're taking those suggestions or you're not taking those suggestions. If you're clicking on any of the suggestions, that means you're taking the suggestion. वो pattern record हो रहा है, and then the model on your phone would be updating according to that pattern. If you're not taking those suggestions, instead you're writing something else, that is another training data being generated for the model. Your model will know that you didn't take the suggestions, but instead it will capture a new pattern and according to that, it will train the model on your cell phone so you have a more personalized experience. And then it will send back the data to the central server of Google, जहाँ पे aggregate होके overall federated learning का जो central model है वो train हो रहा होगा. So be careful in the sense that आपका जो cell phone है that is being used. Just उसकी जो hardware computing power that is being used. Your cell phone is not resting when you are. Instead, it is busy training a model. So this is what happens on Gboard. Any questions so far? अगर किसी को procedure समझ में नहीं आया हो or if I went a little too quick, we're good to go?
एक क्वेश्चन था कि isn't एक आपका nodes related था, isn't the empty node heavy? अभी आपको जो recent slides में गुजरा था.
Isn't the node what?
Empty node heavy. ये क्वेश्चन था.
Empty node heavy? Is that?
Yes.
Heavy in what sense?
अभी recent question. Let me just publish the question. अच्छा, एक question है एक. Just give me a minute. Ma'am, you save your bandwidth, but we have 2 GB RAM on our mobile. So say, but yeah, I think कोई questions नहीं आप carry on कर सकते हैं.
Okay, just to clarify,
Yes.
since you mentioned 2 GB RAM, हमारे पास जो बाकी IoT devices होते हैं, those are working on even lower RAM and all the sources. तो अब वहाँ से अगर data collect करके हम लोग share कर रहे हैं, that is a bigger problem. क्योंकि उसमें ज़्यादा आपकी computing power लग रही होती है, उसमें ज़्यादा आपके resources use हो रहे होते हैं, including bandwidth. But if you're just sharing a few parameters, then it is not that big of a deal. Like, let's suppose आपने 25 MB की एक file share करनी है and आपने 1 MB की एक file share करनी है, which is more appropriate for the low resources? Of course, 1 MB. So this is what's happening here. Okay.
Like a question था और so we need to agree the many end users to train our model.
Well, when you're installing the app, you're technically agreeing. जब भी कोई app आप install करें, it asks for your permission and you give it your permission. And it is only using your underlying resources when you're asleep or when you're not using your phone. So technically आपको कोई problem हो नहीं रही उससे. Or is that more of a privacy concern for you? I don't know. So resources, edge devices के सिर्फ तब use किए जाते हैं when it is convenient for the end user. So when you're sleeping, your cell phone is not being used, that's when the resources can be utilized. So आपकी performance जो भी मतलब आपने काम करना है आपके cell phone की performance में कोई problem नहीं आएगी. And the model can also be trained for your more personalized experience. So at the end, you have the advantage. Okay, let's see. So when can we use this federated learning model or federated learning architecture? Kuch requirements, and that is performance always improves with more data. The more data you feed in, the better and more personalized experience you'll get. Also, there's a very certain requirement. Federated learning सिर्फ उन scenarios में use होती है जहाँ पे आप meaningfully combine कर सकें models को. Just like for the next word prediction that the Gboard uses, उसके अंदर easy हो जाता है. We can combine मेरा model, your model, and any other models, and that is still meaningful. Same goes. There are other applications as well that we will discuss, and I'll explain what do I mean by meaningfully combining the models. Also, यहाँ पे we are not only predicting, but we are also training the model on the nodes, on the edge devices. So whatever the edge devices we have in the network should be able to train the model and just not only predict. And the advantage with federated learning we have is it can handle non-IID data, unbalanced and distributed data. यहाँ पे एक क्वेश्चन यूजुअली लोग पूछते हैं कि why not distributed machine learning then? Distributed machine learning के अंदर एक बहुत important assumption है, that is IID data, ideally identically distributed data, which is not possible in real world. And so जब भी हम ऑप्टिमाइजेशन के साथ ऑप्टिमाइजेशन प्रॉब्लम्स के ऊपर डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड मशीन लर्निंग में काम कर रहे होते हैं, that we have to synthetically generate data or whatever the data we are collecting उसको हमें IID form में लेके जाना पड़ता है. That again uses a lot of resources. So for federated learning we don't have to do that. We're trying to save every bit of the resource that we can. So and it can handle now non-IID data. Which is again a plus. Let's quickly discuss a few tools. Uske andar, the first one we have is OpenMind, which is open source community for secure private AI. They have a huge group of developers and open contributors, researchers. And they're all working towards one goal, which is to provide more secure applications, and also how can we make artificial intelligence more private and more user-centric. Also, there's PySift, which is a library for privacy-preserving deep learning. So if you're working in the domain of deep learning, you can develop federated learning models using PySift. And deep learning के अंदर फिर आपके image recognition के task आ जाते हैं, and all those sort of. Then again, there is a Grid, which is a peer-to-peer platform for decentralized data science. You can also use that. Or the important one, and what I've been mostly working with, is TensorFlow Federated. Again, Google actually proposed this network, and they have been working very hard to promote it. That's why what they're doing is they have offered Federated Learning API and Federated Learning Core. So Federated Learning API is very easy since it wraps the model itself and saves you a lot of trouble of whatever is going on underneath. But if you're looking for more control over your model, then you can also opt for Federated Learning Core and work around this one. So, okay, what are the applications? First is predictive maintenance. Predictive maintenance के अंदर बहुत सारे tasks आ जाते हैं. You can predict, you can maintain whatever in the industry in your cell phone. Well, smartphones is already there as well. So just not only Gboard, but there are so many other things that you can do. Recently, I was talking to a company. It's called Gambo AI, and what they're doing is they were working with a client who was maintaining some sort of dating platform. Don't judge. Um, वहाँ पे क्या हो रहा था कि there are so many people who just creates fake profiles, and they were using federated learning to look for the people with the fake profiles so they could block them out. Um, Same as they were also working with other users, and what they're doing is they're basically offering. I'm just trying to tell you what is going on with the federated learning. So one of the applications that you can do is um, you can use other people's platform to train your application. So let's say you have developed an app. The more people uh, that download your app will, so your machine learning model would be better trained, and you can provide more user-centric experience to all the people that are using. Industrial IoT के अंदर ये use हो रहा है in the sense एक और company के साथ that I was talking to how they're using it. So let's say a machine has a life of 120 hours. And for some reason एक machine जो है उसके अंदर से 120 hours use हो चुकी है, and the other one has only been used for like 80 hours. But if we have just a central model, we won't be able to tell if which one of them was used because we're only getting one aggregated results. With the federated learning, we can actually tell which was used 120 hours, whose life is gone, and which was used for 80 hours. So we can still work with the 80 hours machine. So it saves you money a lot of. Healthcare ke andar, there are a lot of applications because again, hospitals or patients don't want to share their personal data, and which was a main hinder when developing healthcare applications. So now you can actually train it. For example, if I'm wearing a smartwatch, what I can do is it can track my heart rhythm, and if I have any problem, it can detect it without sharing any data with any of the healthcare providers, which is a plus. I'm not sharing my data, but I'm still getting the good results. Corporate IT में use हो रहा है, sports के अंदर use हो रहा है, especially tracking athlete performances and any sort of injuries they might be getting. So these are all the applications. Okay, so let's quickly jump on to actually demo.
Okay, मेरी demo like उससे पहले कुछ questions हैं वो अगर हम address कर लें.
Sure.
Okay, so can you please share use case of federated learning?
Use case I just did. Okay, I'll go through it again. So this is just one of the use case that everyone can actually see. ठीक है, Gboard Google का जो आपका Gboard आप लोग use कर रहे हैं, just not for the prediction, but also next word predictor कैसे काम कर रहा होता है. What is doing is it's recording all the pattern कि आप कौन से word अपनी language में ज़्यादा use कर रहे हैं. आप आपका है just not words, but like what is the language that you're using, and according to that it will predict you the next word. So let's say I'm typing something like I'll see you tomorrow, sahi, and I forgot the apostrophe in I'll. So Gboard क्या कर सकता है, वो predict कर सकता है because it know I usually write it that way. Other than that, if there are any spelling mistakes, उसके लिए भी ये use हो रही है federated learning. I'm just sticking to one Gboard example right now, and I'll go ahead with the other use cases as well. And if I'm taking the next word prediction, जो कि मुझे Gboard दे रहा है, what I'll do is it'll record कि हाँ ये इस user ने ये वाले word की prediction ली है, and that would be, let's suppose, +1. ठीक है, and my model would be trained on that +1. If I'm not taking the suggestion, that is like a -1, and now my model that is being trained on my phone would be given a -1. So let's say अब जो next time जब मुझे prediction आ रही होगी वो +1 के according आ रही होगी and less according to -1. So for more personalized experience for me. But मेरे लिखने का तरीका जो है वो बिल्कुल different हो सकता है. Let's suppose yours. आपका जो model है that is being trained according to your pattern of writing, and mine model would be trained based on mine one. This is one use case. The other one that is being used is in security. So one of the projects that we were working on was smart doorbell. Smart doorbell का concept ये था कि let's suppose there is बाहर किसी ने bell बजाई है, and my bell should be able to detect who the person is. Let's say I know the person, so it will tell me already that yeah, you know the person. Or let's say there is someone unknown and is holding a gun. So the doorbell would be able to tell me that there is a person outside who's holding a gun, so I want to open the door. So this is the concept and the application use cases that are currently being worked on.
Okay.
Does that
Like
simplify things?
yes, I think जो है concept मिल गया होगा. एक और क्वेश्चन है
Okay.
कि how does sharing a trained model not account for sharing data?
Trained model what? Sorry?
How does sharing a trained model not account for sharing data?
Not account?
ये इनका recent एक
So
क्वेश्चन है.
for that, whoever asked this question, can you please clarify the question? I didn't get it exactly.
ठीक है, आप तब तुम clarify करते हैं. Next question ले लेते हैं कि how is differential privacy related to federated learning?
Differential privacy is actually so federated learning के अंदर भी कुछ challenges हैं, and one of them is still security. Whenever we are sharing our model updates, there is a chance, although slight, but there is a chance that some hacker might be able to crack down these model updates. So we use differential privacy to add an additional layer of security on top of federated learning. So हमारी model की जो updates हैं वो भी track ना हो सकें. Just not differential privacy, there are other techniques as well that are being used. There are encryption techniques, there are different other techniques जिसके अंदर हम लोग अपने model की updates को share कर सकते हैं, because there could be poisonous clients. By clients I mean the nodes, which can affect the performance and other things. So that adds a layer of security on top of it.
Okay, so एक और
But
question
that
है.
comes with a few cons, because that still requires, if you're adding another additional layer on top of it, it's going to require resources. So I would say.
Okay.
Yep, next question.
Yes, since the models are properly trained on end devices, does that mean the initial rollout of an app that is used using federated learning will not be used as effective and or useful?
That depends on the use case actually. So जहाँ पे मैंने first let me go back to slides actually, जहाँ पे we were talking about an untrained model. So the model could be literally very untrained, or it could be trained on some benchmark. So let जैसे next word prediction की या recognition की, these problems have been worked on for a very long time, and we have data sets which are considered benchmark. So let's say MNEF, FMNEF, there are Safart and other. Same goes for natural language processing tasks and next word prediction. So those are benchmark data sets. Now, if you're developing an app, some which is related to these tasks, you can use benchmark data sets and train your initial model, which would at least give you a better performance than an untrained one.
Okay.
But the basic idea behind is कि आपका जो ज़्यादा effectiveness तभी आएगी जब ज़्यादा data आपके पास आ रहा है. That is one of the required. The more data there is, the more effective federated learning model would be.
Okay, so एक और क्वेश्चन डील करते हैं फिर डेमो की तरफ हम मूव करते हैं. So for training models we use GPU, but on mobiles we have mobile CPU. So it's very heavy for mobiles to train models on GBS data.
Actually, so हम जो पहली problem आ रही थी, very good question I would say. Machine learning के लिए obviously when you are using tons of data, you do need GPU to process. You need high computing resources. But let's say आप अपना phone कितना ही use कर लोगे. There is still not that much data being generated that would need a GPU to be trained. More than that, हम यहाँ पे क्या कर रहे हैं? Since the aggregation का जो काम हो रहा है, that is being done on central server, which has high computing power. हम जो basic training है, which is, let's say, only the personalization task is being done on your cell phone. So उसके लिए इतने ज़्यादा computing resources की ज़रूरत नहीं होती. And cell phone is still a high-end device comparatively. When we are working in the field of IoT, हमारे पास इससे कहीं ज़्यादा less computing resources होते हैं. So based on that, the idea was to lower कि किस तरह से हम लोग बहुत low resources के ऊपर machine learning की training कर सकते हैं. अब it's sort of a new concept. It was only introduced in 2017, and there is a lot of research that is being done in the field, and we're still trying to minimize the compute resources that are being utilized here.
Okay, so अब जो है like demo की तरफ मूव कर लेते हैं. क्वेश्चन जो है इसके बाद फर्दर हम डिस्कस कर लेंगे.
Cool. Cool. Okay, so let me just pull it up. Just give me one sec. You can't see the console, can you?
अभी फिलहाल स्लाइड्स ही आपकी शो हो रही है.
Okay, perfect. So I'm just gonna stop sharing for 1 second and share again. Okay, screen 2. I hope you can see it now.
Yes, अब आपके कंसोल विजिबल है.
Okay, perfect. So I know this is sort of a complex situation to understand for data learning in the क्या हो रहा है. So I'm not gonna show you all the deep dive code. What I'm just gonna show you is यहाँ पे मैंने एक demo application बनाई है, which is using the servant client model to train the federated learning model. So what I'm gonna do is
Sorry to interrupt. Kindly आप इसका font increase कर देंगे. Font size है इसका.
okay. Well, let me try. Wait. It's not done. Wait a second. Okay, this is bad. Just give me 1 second. Meanwhile, if there's any other question, we can take that.
Okay, so we can move on. 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 So we can move on Like question ये था कि when the node shares a trained model with the server, how can you say that it is not equivalent to sharing data?
Okay. Who मॉडल अपडेट्स और डाटा शेयर करने में बहुत ज़्यादा फर्क होता है. लेट्स से if I'm training a picture related image recognition model, उसके अंदर क्या हो रहा है कि जितनी भी पिक्चर्स आपके फोन में हैं, I would have to use all that pictures. ठीक है, let's say dog training model है dog breeds के लिए, and you have a dog and you click उसके pictures. So what I'll do is वो सब कुछ मैं use कर रही हूँगी. But if I'm using federated learning, उसके अंदर instead of using all those pictures, what I'm doing is I'm just training on device and then I'm sharing model की updates कि हाँ अगर इस तरह के features आ रहे हैं, this is the thing. एक picture share करना requires a huge bandwidth, and then only sharing, let's suppose that it's in features पे ये result, that is a very different thing. And we are not exactly even sharing that. We are only sharing कि हाँ ये model train हुआ. I don't features model की updates को मैं कैसे explain करूँ? So let's say when we are training, जब भी machine learning का model हम train कर रहे होते हैं तो हम उसको specific parameters देते हैं. Let's say क्या error कौन सा हम minimize करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, हम उसके अंदर learning rate क्या define कर रहे हैं, हम इस तरह के जो updates हैं model की वो सिर्फ share करेंगे. We are not sharing the data. So now you see the difference कि picture share नहीं हो रही but मैं model से related चीजें share कर रही हूँ. If that sort of clarifies. If there's still confusion, please ping me back again. Okay, let me share the screen. I hope this is screen. Okay, good enough.
जी अब ठीक है. Let me just.
Okay. So okay. CD. And then I'm going to start my server here. So server के लिए मैंने Flask API use करते हुए इसको बनाया है using TensorFlow. Now our server is up and running. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ping it desktop पे जाना पड़ेगा with the different clients. Should I done that? And now I'll go to clients. Same here. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to activate two clients and I'll ping the server based on that. It is going to ask me for a few parameters जो कि मैंने define किए हुए हैं. First would be के client का ID क्या है, and the second would be the range. I'm going to train this model based on Amnes dataset. If you don't know, that is a benchmark dataset for training handwritten digit model. So image recognition का task वहाँ पे आ जाता है. That is the dataset that I'm using. And I'll define the range. What range would specify कि कौन से numbers के ऊपर मैं train करना चाह रही हूँ. So if I start this, let's see, one of our client would should just start. Okay, it's asking me for client ID. Let's say 1, and not again. What did I do? Sorry, invalid dataset range entered. So client ID is 1, and then let's say I want to train it from 1 to 7. Okay, and you see CaseNet training start कर दिया. Meanwhile, let's just start our other one as well. So once one of the train, यहाँ पे मैं दिखाती हूँ. Okay, this is something that I want to highlight. जब भी एक ट्रेनिंग आइटरेशन कंप्लीट हो रही है, हो क्या रहा है कि वेरिएबल्स अपडेट हो रहे हैं, and what it does, it try and send the updated model back to the central server. Central server receives it, aggregates it, and then next data set के ऊपर training start हो जाती है, means we are using the second iteration. Now I'm going to start my second client, and let's say I want to train it on 5 to 9. And there we go with the second one being trained. So simultaneously अब मेरे दोनों clients के ऊपर training हो रही है. Let's just give it some time. It won't take long, don't worry. क्योंकि इतना heavy data set मैंने भी इसको नहीं दिया हुआ. Okay, so what एक की तो finish हो चुकी है, it's already done, and you see that we have a categorical accuracy of 98%, which is a little too much क्योंकि based on what I'm giving it. But so the training is done, variables update हो गए हैं, it has already sent the updated model to the central server has responded, and then once the training is done, the client will exit itself. We started off, because I've already run so many iterations, so you might see that it has a good categorical accuracy of 67%, and from there we went to 98% categorical accuracy. Okay, there's a slight difference, but we can start the training on a third one just to see the difference. Here we already started on the categorical accuracy of 98%, 98.46, and then we went to 98.82. That's the best you can get. And meanwhile, if you, I can actually just start another client as well. Okay, never mind. Don't mind it, size. It's not letting me update the size when I'm actually sharing the screen. Mac problems. Client. Okay. So this is going to be my third client that I'm bringing right now. Let's say इसको मैं देती हूँ, मुझे सिर्फ 9 7 2 9 की update चाहिए. So again, it started off at an accuracy of 98.15, and let's see कहाँ तक जाती है. वो 99.74. This is just to show you, because पहले काफी दफा रन करके देख चुकी थी. That's why you're getting a very good accuracy. But I think जो first हमने client को से पिंग किया था, वहाँ से idea हो गया होगा कि sometimes it can start from around 50s, 60 and goes up till wherever it wants. This is different for every device, depending on the data, depending on what are the features that we want to train and predict. उनके basis के ऊपर हमारे पास जो accuracy है वो हर device के लिए different हो सकती है, because the data we have on each device is different. So on 3 of our models we have an accuracy of 98.83, 99, and I think we started off at 60 something. I hope that explains. Any questions? Any confusions? We still have 3 minutes.
Okay, so a question that how can just give me a minute.
Yeah, sure.
While training your data on other platform is secured.
Training your data on other platform is secure.
जी एक और क्वेश्चन लगा हाउ मच फेडरेटेड लर्निंग यूजफुल इन रिकमेंडेटर सिस्टम लाइक इन स्किन केयर रिकमेंडर सिस्टम that recommend about different diseases.
So पहले मैं स्किन वाले पे आती हूँ. Just not the recommended system. First, it is being used for even detecting skin cancer. And for recommender system, yes, it is being used, especially so one of Netflix. I hope everyone knows what Netflix is. Um, Netflix क्या कर रहा है कि now it is using for जो पहले Netflix का model था वो obviously centrally trained था and everyone would almost get the same suggestion based on the pattern. Now what it's doing it's tracking for individual. It is sort of targeting them using federated learning. The project is in still very initial stage and not implemented yet. But what they're doing is they're doing this to provide a more personalized recommendation. यहाँ पे जो दो चीज़ें फेडरेटेड लर्निंग के अंदर फोकस्ड हो रही हैं सॉरी तीन चीज़ें that is how can we train the models on edge devices on very low using very low computing resources. Second is security, and third is how can we provide more personalized experience. So recommended system के अंदर हम क्या कर रहे होते हैं that we want to provide a more personalized experience to user. So ज़्यादा वो यूज करे हमारा जो भी प्लेटफॉर्म है. recommended system के अब that is a plus for recommended systems, right? So that is why बहुत से जो giants हैं they are trying to adopt federated learning for recommended system. And if you try to look it up, I'm pretty sure there would be a lot of open source projects as well that might be of use or might be of help for you. Which was the other question? Sorry, I lost the track.
While training your data on other platform is secured. ये I think ये question अभी complete नहीं है इनका.
हाँ, मुझे वही लग रहा था there's something missing. So, if you're whoever asked this question, are you comfortable sharing your data with the other parties? Well, हाँ, Microsoft भी बोलता है, Facebook भी बोलता है that it is encrypted and all that sort of. But अब तो Facebook ने खुलेआम बता दिया that no, we are sharing your data with the other people. And yes, you are getting more personalized experience. You're seeing the ads that are creepy. I don't know, matlab, if I'm talking to a friend and next day it is showing me some suggestion based on that, so even I sometimes feel like ये क्या चल रहा है. तो उस हिसाब से थोड़ा सा सिक्योरिटी की साइड पे कंसर्न्स हर जगह पे आ जाते हैं. ठीक है? If I'm sharing my pictures with someone else, I don't want them to share pictures to track the kind of dressing I have, so they could share me the ads कि हाँ यहाँ से आप अपने कपड़े खरीद सकते हो. That's creepy. I don't know if it's creepy for you. It's creepy for me. So, but if I know for a fact that my data is not being shared, but I'm still getting the same experience, तो फिर तो मुझे problem नहीं होगी. If that makes sense.
Okay, I think
And
like
if you had any other question, please complete it. Because that's all I had.
Okay, I think जो further questions है वो मैंने आपकी प्रोफाइल जो है इनके साथ शेयर कर दी है. मैं दोबारा से शेयर कर देता हूँ. So जो further इनकी question है वो
Sure.
तो further
Okay,
questions है.
so yeah, I think we're out of time. Yep, just feel free to get in touch with me. Write me an email on mehreen.tahir16@gmail.com, or you can get in touch with me over the Twitter, wherever you feel like, or you can also check out C# Corner Code Project wherever you guys feel comfortable and ping me there as well.